Hello, everyone. Welcome to Hot Tag Reviews, Episode 2. I'm Rob Campbell alongside
Martin Holland, or Mart
Yes.
Holland, as the gimmick says.
Boom. It's like a repeat. It's like the other way around. Like, literally, I said that last week. You're saying that this week. Here we are.
Crazy.
We didn't even write that shit, folks. We didn't even write that shit. So on the back of episode 1, In Your House, the first ever one, really enjoyed watching that show and talking about it with Mark last week. This week, we've got what you voted for, and we look to do more of that in the future going forward. But we just want to thank you for all your interaction on social media, watching on YouTube, listening on to SoundCloud and Spotify. It's been great. Thank you very much this week, Mark.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you. Obviously, I hope it gets bigger and better. We start showing more content and talking about more shows that obviously people are more interested in. Obviously, people have got the preferences and eras and shows and wrestlers. So hopefully, we can cover a lot more shows and a lot more coverage of what people want to see. Yeah.
So on that note, let's go to Bash to the Beach 1994 for episode 2. So as I've said, it's Bash to the Beach. It's 1994. It's in Orlando, Florida. It's in front of 14,000 people for the match of the century. Hulk Hogan, the Immortal Hulk Hogan, finally faces, the man, the nature boy, the world heavyweight champion, Ric Flair.
And can I just say, this is not just Ric Flair that people in recent memory might remember him by. This is Ric Flair in his absolute prime. This is Ric Flair living everything that he talks about in everyday life. And it's a different. I wouldn't say shadow of his former self, but this is definitely the Ric Flair that obviously people know and love. So Absolutely. It was always going to be most anticipated. Yeah, and it was a good show, definitely.
I'm glad you think so. I actually really enjoyed watching this show. It was, for me, I grew up being a WWF fan, more than anything, a WWF, WWE fan. WCW I would catch now and again. A lot of the events I wouldn't watch. It would be mainly Nitro. I'd see a bit of Thunder, Saturday Night Main Event, when it was on ITV back in the UK, back in the day. Things like that. But when it comes to an event, a pay-per-view, I've got little experience watching WCW, so I was really looking forward to just experiencing it, probably for the first time, fully. First of all, the one thing that I noticed throughout this show is the commentary team. So it was very interesting for me. You had Tony Schiavone, which I absolutely love, does a great job for AEW these days. But he was truly the voice of WCW for me. Alongside Bobby the Brain Heenan and, at times, Jesse the Body Ventura.
What can you say? What can you say about that?
Well, he's better than Vince McMahon and Doc Hendricks, for one.
Yeah. I think when the show first opens, and obviously, you got Tony Schiavone, like you say, he's the voice of WCW. All the big calls in like the future eras, like Goldberg and Sting and Hollywood Hogan, and later on in the time, the big calls come from John Watson for BBC. He's the big,
Andy Gray,
the iconic moments, and Andy Gray, of course, yeah. The big moments come from those voices, and you need, as much as the action's going on, you need that commentator to do that. And like I say, Tony Schiavone's he's got the voice to put things across, just like Jim Ross, in WWE. But yeah, what a trio! What a trio! I think Tony Schiavone's just sitting there, like, trying to get everything in order. I think he's trying to be the professional. And then you've just got these two jabronis.
Look at the camera! Jesse, we're on camera, look at that.
Yeah. You got these two jabronis just doing what they want, just proper vetting it out,
Yeah, they're literally there. They're getting paid a ton of money for the job that they're doing. That's why they moved down south to begin with. And they're good. They're great. They're really, really good. It's weird, and this is why I mentioned it to start with. It's really weird that the three of them don't commentate together. Now, what happened, Jesse Ventura, just to throw this out there, I was looking into it. I was like, what's going on with Jesse the Body Ventura? Because I don't remember him being in WCW that long. I especially don't remember him in 96, 97, all through the Attitude Era. And obviously he appeared at SummerSlam 99 as a special guest referee, governor of Minnesota, whatever. He's done all sorts in his life. But basically, what happened was he was released in the same month, actually, in July. So a little bit after this event, he was released for apparently falling asleep during a taping of WCW Worldwide. I mean, I haven't seen that taping, but I probably can't blame him.
Exactly. Like you say, I think it's Bobby the Brain Indian's just going off on one, shooting, and obviously, he's got his own personal rival with Hulk Hogan. Every single chance he gets throughout this show, he's digging at Hulk Hogan. And that's not direction from the producers. That's him, shooting on Hulk Hogan. And obviously, you've got Jesse Ventura, like I say, them just there for a payday. He can't, he can't be arsed. And I feel sorry for Tony Schiavone, trying to, get everything back in check. And I think he does a good job, to be fair. But
he does.
When you got two, giant names like that, just doing what they want, it's crazy. Yeah,
it is crazy. I'll just talk about a dark match before we move into the main matches, and it's mainly just because of the people that are in it, really. The dark match was the tag team match between Brian Armstrong and his brother Brad Armstrong versus Steve Kern and Bobby Heaton. So just to put this out there, that Brad Armstrong passed away on November 1st, 2012. He is actually the brother of Brian Armstrong. Spoiler alert, that's not just a gimmick, that's a real thing. And Brian Armstrong did a little thing along the line. He became the road dog, Jesse James. So fair play to him. The other two, Steve Kern, I remember him as Skinner from 1992 and early 93 with his alligator gear and so on. He was actually at WrestleMania 8 in 92.
Okay.
And and Bobby Heaton was one of the original Midnight Express members. So pretty strong lineup of people that are quite recognisable in the wrestling world. In the dark match there, thankfully there was only one dark match on this event. Well, technically there was two, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. So we start the show with a video package. Again, it's promoting the match of the century. It's Hogan versus Flair. We're going to hear that throughout the night. We're going to hear all sorts of other gimmicks as well. We get all of the fireworks to open up the World Championship Wrestling show. And my first thought is, what a fucking set that is. I looked at that set, that entrance, and I went, I want that. I want to walk out of there tonight. I want to do it.
It's probably roasting hot outside. They want to, you want to bring that. It's a bash at the beach. It's not just an event. It's not just, they've called it bash at the beach. So you need to make it look like a beach, and they did quite well, to be fair.
They do a great job with it.
Amazing.
We're then greeted by Tony Schiavone, Bobby the Brain Heenan, and Mean Gene Okerlund, stood next to ringside. So very familiar setup for a wrestling show in the 90s, when you've got the announcers opening up, plugging what we're about to see, talking about some of the storylines, and all they talk about in this really is the main event. That's all they talk about.
Yeah.
And they mentioned that Mr. T will be in Hulk Hogan's corner, and Sensation of Sherry will be in Ric Flair's corner for this match. And that's the only takeaway I had from this opening segment.
Yeah, like I say, that's all they was talking about, really. And why not? I suppose the undercard is really strong, and like you say, because that dark match had so many strong wrestlers in there. I think that's just a show of how good of an actual event this was. I really enjoyed it. So
such a strong card.
Yeah, exactly. But when you got Ric Flair and you got Hulk Hogan, you'd be stupid not to just talk about that. And
exactly.
like I said earlier, you got Bobby the Brain Indian, proper shooting. just being just dead horrible in the background. It's quite funny, really. It amused me quite a lot, to be fair. He was just like, nah, and he's looking around. You could tell he was just like completely doing what he wanted. Brilliant.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Sadly, we lost Bobby the Brain Heenan September 17th, 2017, and Mean Gene on January 2nd, 2019. Absolute legends of the wrestling business. Agreed, Mark?
Yeah, definitely. Like I say, when you say about Tony Schiavone, the voice, let me tell you something, Mean Gene. I mean, that's a phrase that will forever, ever go down in history. And, just the voice of the people who bring that feeling and emotion across. It's, they do more than just, commentate or report or interview.
Absolutely. They then put us into the ring, and we've got a bloke that goes by the name of Darren Norwood. Giant Records pops up underneath his name.
Okay.
And he sings the national anthem.
Mm-hmm.
He sings it well. I'm not denying that. Two takeaways for me during this is his shirt and hair. Well, that's one takeaway. His shirt and hair, fantastic, all American. And then his hair is as good as Todd Pettingale's in the last episode.
Mm-hmm.
And then we pan to a Steven Seagal lookalike in the crowd with his wife, who's just dead miserable. She don't want to be there.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, great camera shot.
Like I say, I'm not, for some reason, I love the national anthem of America. I'm not very, I'm not going to stand there and hold my chest and stuff because I'm not American, obviously. But, I think it's because there's so many like WrestleMania moments. And I think that's the one thing that I think of when singing the national anthem at the start of an event. I think of that automatically. I know there's obviously the Super Bowl and, other events, but I'm into wrestling and that's what I remember. It being all these superstars. So I don't remember actually WCW doing this sort of thing, No, and I was quite surprised when I come across it. Like I say, I really enjoyed watching it and going back to that sort of era. But I never remember, doing anything like this. And like you say, I like it. It's really, it's a good, it's a good thing. I like it when it's done well, because you can tell that everybody's proper into it. You know what I mean? Apart from the miserable old bitch there, yeah.
Yeah, it's not salt and pepper at WrestleMania 11, that's for sure. He does a really good job. Darren actually passed away in 2015 as well, so there's a running theme during this event with some of the people that are on this card, which is a shame. But it's great to look back at what they did in their prime, and Darren was a great singer. We get a lot of time here with the announcers, a lot of time. It's 7 minutes in total at the opening, including the national anthem, including going back and forth with the Brain and Tony and Gene before we actually get some action. So as soon as Darren Norwood is finished with the national anthem, Tony and the Brain take us through an action replay of Sting being put out of action as Sting was supposed to take on William Regal for the United States, the television championship.
Stephen Regal.
Stephen Regal. Lord Stephen Regal, to be exact. It will be
and his valet was Sir William.
That
confused me. Yeah,
that got me. And I reckon that's probably a take on it. When he arrived in WWF, he probably went, "Can I be William?"
Yeah.
I don't know. But either way, so they show us this replay, and I must say, right, first of all, you've injured Sting by raking his eyes. What? That got me. I'm like, what do you mean? So Sherry raked Sting's eyes, and then up to about an hour before, Sting was apparently going to be in the corner of Johnny B. Bad, and then all of a sudden, fuck that, I'm not turning up.
Yeah. Like, the eye rake is the most generic cut-off that you can do as a heel. What's your go-to cut-off? Oh, just, eye rake me, if she'd have done it a bit more, like, she had the sharp nails, if they'd have done it a bit more emphasised on it, maybe I could believe that. But maybe that's because now, 26 years down the line, I'm a bit more, aware of things, and, need a bit more, you need to tell me a bit more about it. Probably back in the day that worked. Oh God, he's got his eyes raked. He's definitely out. He's in the hospital. He's recovering. He's got patches on. Do you know what I mean? What the thinking behind that was, I don't know. Just put a chair around his leg and do something else. It's just that was bizarre for me. The reason Sting won there, but there you go.
And it's still bizarre. And before we even get into the match, they've just shown this replay leading us into the match, and then Gene comes back to plug the phone number to ring. Yeah, ring the phone number so we can make some money. And Shaquille O'Neal. So we've talked about the match, and then we've gone back to more gimmicks. Phone the number. Shaquille O'Neal's here. Okay, yeah, sound. I'm done. All right. Take it away, Gary, in the ring.
Yeah.
What's going on with the placement here?
Bizarre setup. I think it's like a theme throughout the show. Like you say, with Tony Schiavone was trying to, rein, Venturi in, and you could tell like when the Brain was doing some of his like sarcastic comments, he was just like, oh, for God's sake, just shut up. Do you know what I mean? He was like, oh, what's he saying there? It just seems there was nobody in the Gorilla or in the production suite that was saying, say this, say that, cut that off, don't say that. It just seemed a bit of a free for all, to be fair, but it's really bizarre.
I'd agree with that. And then we finally do get the match for the TV championship. So it's Lord Steven Regal, as you mentioned, with Sir William versus Johnny B. Bad, who later becomes Mark Merrow in life in the WWF. But I absolutely love Johnny B. Bad. Fantastic. Literally, you've got all of the gear, all of the gimmicks. You've got cannons that are shooting money. He's legit buying the crowd as a babyface, and I love it.
Yeah. It's one way going over, ain't it?
Mate, you're over. You've just put $10 in my pocket. It could have been $1 for all I care. It don't matter. You are over now. I'm going to cheer for you. No matter what you do, I'm going to cheer for you because you just give me some money.
Yeah, exactly.
Nick Patrick's the ref. He's in for a busy night.
I noticed that one, yeah. Mm-hmm.
There weren't many refs on this card. I'll tell you that. For me, this match it's good. It's really good, considering it was billed as Regal versus Sting to begin with. So Johnny B. Bad has just been thrown into this situation. These two do a really good job for me. Yeah.
Like you say, I think Johnny B. Bad. He's got the look. He's got the he's got the gimmick. He's got the music, which is really notably identical to another rock song, classic rock song.
Back to the Future.
Yeah. I think it was a good, like I say, it was a good match. The one thing I will say is throughout the match, there was way too many arm bars and wrist locks for me. But, William Regal, Steven Regal, he's a technical wrestler and that's his forte. That's what he does. So obviously, he's going to want to do some technical shit, ain't he? He's going to want to, do some chain wrestling, and that's what his matches consist of. He's not a big move guy. But for me, Johnny B. Bad put a bit too many wrist locks on that. Just vary it up a bit. Everything else was spot on, like you say. Just give that bit of variation. I don't know. That was one thing that let it down for me. But like I say, it was a good match. I really, really.
I get where you're coming from. I enjoyed it from the perspective as he looked like Regal was having a lot of fun in there. At times, Merrow, Johnny B. Bad, whatever you want to call him, he got lost, and that's why he went back to the wrist lock, for example. So Regal would then just call a spot and do something else, and it became sort of like a technical masterclass on behalf of Regal. But some of them flip bumps that he was taking to put over Johnny B. Bad, I was just looking at him going, wow, that is a flip bump, to say the least. Yeah,
and he got some height on it as well.
He really did.
And, you can tell that he's not selfish in one bit. He's putting him over. You know what I mean? He's flipping him out. He's putting him in arm bars. He's putting him in. Even when he was putting him in like the 13th wrist lock of the night, he was still selling. He was still doing stuff. So he was not selfish at all. And I think William Regal got a bit of stick for like a future Goldberg match on his debut, or on his not Goldberg's debut, but it's a bit like it was a bit like into his first run, first few matches in. And William Regal got a bit of stick for be a bit too technical and trying to make him look like a bag of shit, really, basically.
Right.
And I think that's what the perception of William Regal is. But in this match, it shows it's complete opposite. You know, he was giving him everything. He was making him look like, you know, making him look the part. Do you know what I mean? And that's what you want your heel to do. There's only so much you can do. You know, if your heel's not, you know, making you look half decent, then what's the point?
There ain't no point. The pacing is great for me. Techie's fantastic, as we've talked about. There's two things the commentators catch from what they say in this one. Tony Schiavone says, wrestling is cool again. And Bobby the Brain Heenan follows that up by saying, let WCW put a hold on you. So the marketeers have been at work, and we get a few phrases throughout the night. I'm not sure if you caught all of them, but what do you think after hearing them now?
Maybe it's just like the way that the brain comes across. I don't know, but it's just all of the cheese. It was just very cringy for me.
Okay, I'd agree with that. It was fully cheesy, and that's why I've made a note of them to say, what the fuck's this?
Exactly. It's like the old-fashioned product placement, like, oh, here's it, you know, come and get WCW.
Want a can? Want a can, do you? But the one difference I've noticed in terms of production quality from WCW and WWF around the same sort of time. So the one thing I hate was the camera with the lights. So the lights up in the sky, and they just did not react very well. Yeah. The cameras just did not react very well to the sky lighting. But the one thing I did enjoy was the intensity of the apron cam. I love that apron cam. That's
the one thing about WCW that they followed that through for I think it was all the way up until it went bust and Vince McMahon brought him out. Was they always had somebody on the corner, you know, filming all the action as in there. So when you look at the main cam, you can't see that cameraman. So they've purposely left him out of that shot. But obviously, like you say, you got the camera looking up, but then you've always got somebody on the corner showing the in-ring, you know, the perspective of being in the ring, and that's a good shot for me, to be fair.
Great shot, absolutely great shot. Now the finish is a little bit messy in this one. So Regal, he's on the ropes, he's got the tights, he gets the pin basically, and it's messy as they come, but he retains the title, and then shortly after the match, Sir William takes a big back body drop, and not in a good way.
Yes, yeah, all ass.
So they go 10 minutes and 40 seconds. Big Dave gives it 2.5 stars. Where's your head up, Mark?
I'll put it at 1.5.
Did you? Okay. See, I agreed with Dave.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I really enjoyed watching Regal have fun. And he looked like he called a lot of the stuff to Mero bad in the ring, and he just sort of led him. You know, the fact that we were supposed to have Regal versus Sting, but got this instead. I'm not saying that, you know, the match compares to what Regal could have done with Sting, but I think they did quite well for what they had. In 10 minutes and 40 seconds, majority of that was technical wrestling. Yeah.
Like I say, I think the only reason I put it so low is because there's too many wrist locks for my liking, you know. And I think if you're going to be a half decent wrestler, I was told anyway when I first obviously started training that, you know, that's the first thing you need to do is know how to you know, just chain wrestle, just have a mess about and you know, tell me always about the drop kicks and the power bombs and the choke slams, you know, just know your holds and know how you can get out of stuff, you know, because some, you know, spoiler alert, you know, when you're in the scene, you know, there's people who can shoot on you, you know, and you ain't always got somebody who's going to work with you, who's your friend, you know, so you've always got to know how to get in and out and you know, get it back into your hands and just know a bit more stuff about, you know, chain wrestling and locks and holds.
Definitely.
That's the only reason. There's too many wrist locks for me, but like I say, it's a last minute thing. You don't know how much time you had to prepare and stuff. So
it's one of them. Up to an hour ago, Sting was doing it. Mean Gene's back in the ring with dignitaries, as that comment and that phrase is passed around throughout the night. You can recognise them because they're all in tuxedos or have backstage passes and they're in the front row and so on and so forth. There's a load of them anyway. So he is there to present Anthony Inoki a plaque for an achievement in wrestling. The shitty segment until Regal comes back out, starts shooting from the hip to get a reaction off everybody. He does mention Muhammad Ali and Andre the Giant. Now, Muhammad Ali, obviously being a boxer, but he appeared at WrestleMania 1, the first WrestleMania. And Andre the Giant is commonly known with the World Wrestling Federation. You know, he's passed away by this point. But at the same time, I would associate them with WWF. So do you think he would have got any sort of heat off Bischoff for this?
Potentially. You know, for him to mention that, maybe got a slap on the wrist. But if he can justify, the way he got it across and the heat that he got and the audience reaction, then he probably had a bit of a leg to stand on. But definitely shooting from the hip, and maybe got a fine. Maybe had a maybe had his title took off him a bit earlier than what planned. You know, who knows? Who knows?
Yeah, I'm not sure if we ever got Regal versus Sting for the title. That's for sure.
That'd have been a good match. To be fair.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I would have looked forward to seeing that one as well. But that was a suitable replacement as far as I was concerned. We turn around to see Tony Schiavone telling Jesse the Body Ventura to turn around because he's on camera. And the Brain's no longer there to commentate, as I've mentioned, so they're switching throughout the night. Right before we go into our second match, which, my God, what a match. But before we go into that, they mention or show Chris Lemon, who's in the crowd. He's there to support Hulk Hogan with a number of people. He's a co-star of Hulk Hogan in Thunder in Paradise. That was a one-season-long thing, 22 episodes, from March to November of 1994. Chris Lemon actually went and done a couple of films as Thunder in Paradise after that as well, believe it or not. But do you ever remember Thunder in Paradise, Mark?
What a show! Yeah, what a show! I loved it.
Good, wasn't it?
Loved it. I can't deny it. I can't deny it. I loved it.
It's his boat for me. Like, it had everything. It was like kit for boats.
Yeah, it was dead long and pointy, and it had all this shit going on, and it was amazing.
All of the gimmicks inside of it, didn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Probably could make you a coffee if you wanted one.
Yeah, I'd expect so.
Yeah, I'd expect so too. So we move into the second match of the card.
Can I just say before?
Yeah, go on.
Before we move on to the match, when the camera's on Tony Schiavone and the half head of Jesse Ventura before he turned around, something I noticed, and I always look. It's one thing that I've picked up, you know, and I always look for now for some reason. But I always look for like fans and what they're doing, and what signs they've got, and what stupid stuff they're doing. But if it's a theme throughout the night as well. So if you watch it, it's quite funny. If you look when the commentators, it's on the commentators. There's a fan dressed as Hulk Hogan in the front row.
There is.
He's fucking off his tits. He's on fucking crack cocaine or something. Like, I wasn't even, at this point, every time it cut to the commentators, I wasn't even looking at the commentators. I was looking at this fucking crack. I was looking at his crackhead behind him.
Yeah.
Because he was doing some mad shit. And like, he kept me fully entertained.
Yeah. You know what's scary about that? What's scary about that is when, later on in the show, when Hulk Hogan is actually announced to the ring, and they start panning to the crowd. Now, not all of them are dressed like Hulk Hogan, but a lot of them have got the mustache and the hair like Hulk Hogan. So automatically, they are Hulk Hogan.
Hulkamania, baby. That's
scary. That is fucking scary.
This is obviously, you know, when Hulk Hogan says, you know, Hulkamania is going to run wild. You know, this is 26 years ago. People nowadays, unless you go and search for this stuff, it's not known. It's not, you know, it's not current, is it? it's Hulkamania and the Ric Flair at this time. But this, if you ever wanted to research Hulk Hogan, look at this sort of like time and how hot and how much people was really into it. Everybody's got a yellow and red cap on or a headscarf. It was just crazy. It was just like a phenomenon, absolute phenomenon.
Hulkamania will live forever. That is a fact.
Yeah.
So, second match on the card, we've got Vader with Harley Race, who brings him to the ring, versus the Guardian Angel. The Guardian Angel, for people who don't know, is the Big Boss Man. So I popped when the Big Boss Man walked out. I was like, oh, Big Boss Man, that is. And then Gary Capetta, or whatever his name is in terms of the ring announcer, goes, Guardian Angel. And I'm like, what?
Yeah. What a fucking stupid name.
I don't think you've said his name right, mate, is what I was thinking. But clearly, he was called the Guardian Angel. So before we get into the match and what we make of it and everything that happened, what do you make of how the Boss Man was presented here?
I think the story was, didn't he have his nightstick and stuff? Then he have something took off him and like he sort of like changed into like this persona that's going to like save everybody or something. To be honest, I couldn't be asked to go search it because I thought, what the fuck is going on? Like, this is the Big Boss Man. He's the biggest, meanest fucking like legit worker that you can get, really. What the fuck are they doing? Putting like this gimmick on a fucking. It just really disappointed me. I couldn't even bring myself to research it. I really couldn't.
Yeah. I completely get what you're saying. So all three of these great men have passed away now, unfortunately. So Vader was June 18th, 2016 at the age of 63. Harley Race, August 1st, 2019 at 76. And the earliest out of the three of them was the Big Boss Man, the Guardian Angel, September 22nd, 2002 at the age of 41. So, rest in peace to you three, but this match is absolutely fantastic for me. Two big dudes just absolutely belting the shit out of one another, flying about like cruiserweights. It's fantastic.
Yeah. I think you obviously get the two big man. You got your typical big man on big man match. The Hulk Hogan, Andre the Giant, the irresistible force, the immovable object. I think that's the sort of like thing that people think of when you're big on big. But these guys, like you say, was just battering the absolute shit out of each other. And Vader, he's very renowned for being a legit, like, if you don't hit me properly, rest assured I'm gonna fucking whale you. So it's up to you whether you want to play with me or not. I'm gonna batter the shit out of you. And he's well renowned for that around Japan, all over the world. You can see videos of him. He batters the shit out of people, whether it's whether it's right or wrong. If somebody pisses him off, but that's the way he worked, and that's what that's the persona that he had. But these two was absolutely going through.
Absolutely fantastic. I mean, it's the first mention in the match as well of Commissioner Nick Bockwinkel by the commentators, who we need to remember for later on. So that's just a note for us there, Mark. But I did love this match. Most of it, I suppose. I think it deserved a better finish.
Yeah.
They threw each other about, like I say, like the children, pillows, you name it, whatever the lightest thing you can think of. These are two big stocked men just throwing each other about. The pace is hot. It's physical as fuck. Vader does a sunset flip from the middle rope. He jumps over the Boss Man into a sunset flip. I mean, what are we seeing here?
Yeah. So he does the Vader bomb from the second.
Yeah.
And he thinks, oh, fuck it. So he actually goes up to the top.
Yeah.
And he fucking does a moonsault off the top rope as well.
That's
what Vader brought.
Popping like a motherfucker watching this match. I really was. And then it got really messy. And then it became a shame. So I don't know what happened. I don't know if the ref went down. I can't even remember who the ref was at this point. I tried to research who the ref was. I think I could fucking find his name anywhere. No. No, I could not. But Race takes a Flair bump from the top rope.
Yeah.
Vader gets clotheslined over the top. And then we see the suplex from the outside to the inside. We see about 3 of them on this card, by the way. It's a repeated spot quite a bit. But I don't know, the ref takes a shoulder tackle or something. And the boss man, the guardian angel, he ends up with a nightstick in his hand. And he's playing it and he's going to whack Vader with it. And then all of a sudden the referee comes round and disqualifies him for having it in his hand.
Yeah.
He hasn't used it. He just DQs him out of nowhere. What the actual fuck?
That's what I put on my notes, the absolute shitty finish. What, you know, what's, so like, in the first match you have, Steven Regal, I think he was holding on to the stick of Sir William, and the referee kicked it out the way, and that sort of led up to the finish. So then in the second match, like, him involving a stick again, just who's in charge of these, who's agent in these, putting together these matches, who's in charge of these finishes? Because
exactly,
it's a bit shitty, to be fair, and using 2 similar items in a similar way, exactly. It just really, like I say, it's a shitty finish. It's a shame.
But last week when we reviewed In Your House one, we got Psycho Sid and Diesel in the main event. We Psycho Sid buckling like a bitch. We didn't see none of that in this match. This was a slobber knocker. This was one that you want to go and watch, without a doubt, except the finish.
Yeah.
Maybe they had a better match at a different card, but these two definitely had the right chemistry to go and kick the shit out of each other. They go 7 minutes 58 seconds. Big Dave gives it 2.5.
I'll get 2.
Yeah, I don't think it was better than the first match. I thought the first match was better on the card. So I give it a 2 too. I wanted to give it lower than Dave because I didn't agree that it was as good as the first match. So 2 stars. We're on par with that one, Mark.
Yeah. Like I say, it was a shame because it would have been 3 stars, depending on the finish and a bit more content. But it was amazing. It was a different match, completely different. You got technical in the first match, and you got an absolute slobber knocker in the second. So it's good variety.
What more can you want? What more can you want from the start of a card that is main evented by Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair?
Exactly.
So we go straight into a video package for the next match, which is highlights from April to July, as Tony Schiavone makes us aware. And that is for the tag team match of Terry Funk and Bob House Funk versus Dustin Rhodes and Arn Anderson. And it just talks us through the build-up of how this all comes together and how Arn Anderson has returned and has agreed to be tag team partners with Dustin for this match, who's getting a lot of shit off Terry Funk and Bob House Funk on the lead up, really. So that was an interesting catch-up to see what had been happening to lead to this point. And then out of nowhere, they want to bring to our attention a handicap match that pretty much took place in the pre-show. It was a dark match of sorts with, quote-unquote, Ron and Ron, the Sissy Boys, versus some bird called Molly. That's all I caught was a first name, being Molly. That's all I recognised. I didn't hear the surname. I didn't hear anything about it. I just heard the Sissy Boys versus Molly, and that's what I've written down. Jimmy Hart's the ref, and what an absolute bag of shit they made us watch.
I didn't even know what the fuck was going on. I thought the show had gone off and gone on to something else, to be fair. And what the fuck? The Sissy Boys, ain't they part of some like presenting show or something? Wasn't it something to do with that? Some sort of marketing ploy again?
It says Ron and Ron from a radio show. It's the Ron radio show or something like that.
Yeah.
But the Sissy Boys were a take on the Nasty Boys. And they were the gear that they were wearing, the T-shirt they were wearing, was quite Nasty Boys gearish.
Yeah.
And then it was the Sissy Boys. I'm like,
the Sissy Boys. What?
just why? Why are you showing this on pay-per-view?
Exactly.
Keep this a secret. If Ron and Ron don't make it as dignitaries in the front row with Chris Lemon, Fuck him. Fuck Ron. And fuck the other Ron. It doesn't matter what they did. Don't mention it.
Exactly.
Fucking mental.
It was just a fucking segment to just forget. Just
It really
fucking
was.
carry on. I don't even know why they managed. Why they even like bothered talking about it. What's the point? Just leave it to the live crowd to come in fucking 1 hour before the doors opened or something.
This is what I'm saying. There was plenty of red chairs. There weren't many audience there to actually see it, and the people that were there were just walking around and find their seat anyway. They weren't exactly watching it. Oh, what a bag of shit. So anyway, Terry Funk and Bob Ace Funk, they make the way to the ring with Colonel Robert Parker and Meng in their corner. So Bob Ace Funk, I just want to talk about him for a second. Doing a bit of research into him, he seems to have had a pretty good career. Didn't really make it big time other than this WCW run. But an interesting thing I found about him was that he played Jack Swagger's dad on an episode of SmackDown in 2010.
Oh, okay.
What nugget of information for you there. Digest that one, Mark.
What the fuck? I don't even know what to say to that. And what happened in this segment? Did it say? What was it? Just in the audience or?
No, his dad. I don't know. I can't remember it. I thought that'd be enough, Mark. I didn't know you wanted me to watch the segment. I only found that out an hour ago, just like I found out about Sting not turning up for the first time. Oh, fucking hell. So anyway, Nick Patrick's the ref once again, believe it or not. Now, Tony Schiavone puts over the fact that Nick Patrick is shaking hands with Colonel Robert Parker before the match starts. We don't see this on camera. We're just told this by Tony Schiavone. Doesn't really play into anything throughout the match anyway. But it is noted that Nick Patrick is definitely considered to be a heel referee throughout his career. Would you agree?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Especially when him and Earl Hebner were chinning each other after the invasion. They were pretty fun matches to watch, to be fair. They felt real, that's why. Oh, you got two refs just slobbering it out. I'm down, I want to see what happens there. It's almost like the Brawl for All, but you want to watch it because no one wanted to watch the Brawl for All.
Yeah, that's another story.
It really is. I love that Terry Funk is in vintage Terry Funk gear. He's not wearing a pair of jeans. He's in his stripes, his black and white stripes, and he's ready to go. Yeah, Beetlejuice gear, and he's ready to go. Absolutely. Jesse Ventura actually mentions the fact that him and Terry Funk went to a time limit draw of an hour in 1976. Like, can that be real? I haven't researched if it's real, but that's exactly what he says. I'm not sure if he's ribbing us.
Well, he left the company this year, so who knows?
Who cares?
Who knows? He's probably just saying whatever he fucking wants. Who knows? Who knows at this point?
Exactly. He could have meant 1986. That would have been maybe more believable, maybe. Yeah. But I think Ventura was commentating for WWF at the time. I could be wrong. Dustin, for me, he's smacking the absolute shit out of Funk Punk, as I like to call them, for a lot of this match. What did you make of this match?
So first of all, watching the match, I thought that it'd been better for considering the heat with Dusty and Funk and Bob Funk. What's his name? Bunkhouse Bob.
Funk, yeah.
Bunk Funk. So considering the history with those, obviously, it'd been better for him to be on the apron and get the hot tag and just to send the fans wild and get get his payback on them. Do the sort of like, I want you but I can't get you, blah blah blah, play that sort of match. But it was Arn Anderson that started.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, this is a bit backwards. But obviously, spoiler alert, at this point, I didn't know the finish. So now, in hindsight, I can understand why they did it this way.
None of us did.
Exactly. There you go. Nobody ever seen that coming. I thought this is a bit backwards because he's obviously,
I saw it coming, but like 5 seconds before it happened.
Yeah.
I was like, actually, and then.
Yeah, so that's the reason why they did, obviously, Dustin taking the beat down and for him desperately wanting that help and, getting that tag out. So I can understand why they did it. It was a good match, to be fair. You know what? Terry Funk in this match, like, I've seen quite a few bits. I'm a big Mick Foley fan, so, like, I've seen a lot of his and Terry Funk's matches. And, like, just the way he's holding himself and he's like staggering about, and at one point he goes and like starts like punching the corner for no reason because like you can't, like the way he just like sells some of the moves is absolutely amazing, and that popped me in, and I think that was absolutely brilliant. I just loved the way he was just like controlling the match and holding himself, and because obviously Arn Anderson is at this point he's a big star, but he's not in the match. He's only in the match for a little bit at the start. So he's not really part of the match, if you like. It's just Dustin. It's still a handicap match. It's still Dustin on these two people.
Pretty much. Maybe that's why they showed the handicap match of the City Boys. Yeah. Because this one was more like a handicap match as well.
Maybe, yeah. So this is what you could have had, and this is what you did get. But no, I really enjoyed it. And I can just say, like, there's a bump that Dustin does. It was pretty similar to the last episode. Of when Bart Gunn did the crossbody, and if you watch it back, like Dustin does this like crossbody, and I don't know who was in the ring at the time, but he moves out of the way. But he goes and he does the same sort of bump where he does crossbody through the ropes. But this time, obviously, there's the stairs there because there's like stairs in the corner. There's big stairs in the middle of the actual ring in the ramp, and he just goes flying down them stairs, and he's bump, 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 and he's hitting every single one, and he rolls halfway up the ramp. And I just thought, what an absolute boss! That for me was like, it was amazing. I popped for that more than some of the moves that happen.
For me, Mark, even with them bumps down the stairs, he looked better than Bart Gunn.
Yeah, yes, it was just amazing. I loved it.
I really enjoyed it. I can't remember seeing the announcers table being here before this match. So I've actually written it down during this match. But I didn't realise how close the announcers were to the ring.
It's like the boxing, next to the ring. Yeah, it's like the boxing setup where they're up against the apron. Yeah. There was, Dustin was in the match for quite a while, and he was taking a lot of beating. He was giving. I lost count on how many hope spots there was, but I suppose there needed to be because obviously you can't do so much of the match of just heat. It just made no sense. So obviously you had to have so many comebacks and false comebacks and.
Mentioning a hope spot, one of them that really stood out that the commentators got me, and this is where my point is. What I was trying to read here. While the referee's back was turned, he body slammed one of them outside over the top rope for one end, and then the referee was distracted the other side, and he did it with Terry Funk or Bob House Funk, but he did it to both of them. He did one side and one the other side, and then strangely, the announcers said, and it was strange to me, I'd never heard of this rule really until watching this, and then I sort of remember it still being about in '96 WCW for a little bit until the cruiserweight coming in, because then the cruiserweights were jumping on the top rope to the outside like constantly. But if the referee had seen Dustin Rhodes throw or body slam Terry Funk over the top rope, that would have resulted in a disqualification. What's that all about?
That's one thing that got me as well. I can't remember this rule. I can't even remember it. After the event, this is one thing that I can't. I can't even I can't remember. So I heard that as well, and I thought, well, what's all that? What's all that about? That's a bit of a stupid rule, ain't it? Really? Is it because it'll take away the fun of a battle royal and the Royal Rumble? That them type of matches, is that the reason why they've said don't do it in any other type of match, I don't know, because it'll take away that magic of being chucked over the top rope. That's the only thing I can think of as why they said it's a disqualification, so don't do it. What a stupid rule, though. What a stupid rule.
Terrible rule. Didn't make any sense. But on the flip side, in the next match, which we'll talk about, some of the psychology in that match was around that rule, which was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But we'll come to that in a minute. We get towards the finish then, and Dustin Rhodes he's making this big comeback. Once again, he's back on top. He's smacking the shit out of Funk, and doesn't seem to need Arn Anderson's help. He drops the bionic elbow in heritage to his father, who works for the company at the time, nowhere to be seen, by the way. And then he finally makes the tag to Arn Anderson, and we're thinking, fuck yeah, shit's about to go down, the enforcer's in the ring. And then all of a sudden, Arn Anderson, out of nowhere, hits us with the big double cross and plants Dusty with the DDT, or Dustin even with the DDT. I just said I've seen it 5 seconds before it happened. That's when it clicked. What was your reaction?
Yeah, I don't think I've seen it coming maybe as quick as you, but I think you could tell as soon as as soon as he got in the ring, he wasn't. He didn't have the right intentions in mind, should we say? So that's the reason why I thought, well, why is Arn Anderson starting? Why is not Arn taking the BT and all that sort of stuff? And obviously, this is the reason. Obviously, why.
This is why.
So it made sense in the end.
Very much so. It did make sense in the end. They go 11 minutes, 15 seconds. Obviously, Funk get the pin because Arn drags Terry over to Justin, and there's the 1, 2, 3. Big Dave gives it 3 stars. I'll go out straight away, mate, and I'll say I fully agree with 3 stars. For 11 minutes and 15 seconds, this was full of action and a great heel turn, so I was happy with 3 stars. What about you?
I'll put 2.5.
2.5?
Yeah.
Okay, closer.
Yeah.
Closer.
I think it was better than the last match.
What would have made it better for you?
I don't know. For me, during the match, there was, because I think it must have been, 9 minutes of just Dustin against, against the other team. So, there's only so much you can do. And I think at times they didn't execute the hopes in the right places. They didn't let it go on for long enough. They didn't let fans believe that this was the comeback. It just went up and down at the wrong time. I think, obviously, when you're in the ring and you're doing your hope spots, and sometimes when you're doing it off the cuff, because you've not got this, exact match planned out, you have to go off the crowd and you have to go off what the reaction you're getting and the build up. And I don't think they executed that at the right time of getting those hope spots in and then cutting them off at the right time. I think it was just to be out of par with what the audience was doing. But like I say, for 9 minutes is longer than most matches, not just for a heat segment. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true.
So I can't be too harsh on that way, but that's what I probably wanted them to sync more with the audience, and when you can feel the rumbling and that's when you wanted the whole spot to come in, but sometimes it didn't. That's when you want your babyface to come on top. But I don't know. I'm being a bit picky, really.
It's a good rating. 2.5 stars is fair enough. I mean, Meng for me looks like an absolute villain when he gets in the ring to lay the boot on Dustin a little bit before leaving. And on the way up the ramp, there was no ramp, but up the exit way, the entrance way to get out of there. Mean Gene tries to interview the Funk party house and gets no luck whatsoever. They tell him to do one. But we do see him a little bit later, which we'll talk about. That is the end of that match, and the Brain is back after that match. So Jesse, the Body Ventura, has cleared off, and Tony puts over the next event that we're going to see from WCW, which is Full, which presents War Games normally, and that's in September, and this pay-per-view took place in July. It used to take place in June. It had a different name, so it used to be called Beach Blast in 92 and 93. which took place in June. That's why we've done this one, because I associated it with June. So my bad. Maybe we should have saved it to July, but who cares, right? We've got to watch some good wrestling.
I think it's because the Great American Bash took over, didn't it, in July? Then I think it had a bit of a shift around again. Then
that's right.
But I'm glad they changed the name. What a shit name Beach Blast is. Just sounds like a fucking Pokemon move. You know what I mean?
It does. It does something that like Squirtle or something. Well, maybe the evolved form. I can't remember the name of the evolved one. But Squirtle's evolved form probably could have done a Beach Blast move. Do you know what I mean? Yeah,
exactly.
We come back and we've got a Ric Flair interview. So this is the first time we see Flair in the night and interviewing him. They're putting over the championship match and they're putting it over Hot Brother. What did you think of this one?
But like I said at the start, you know, Ric Flair. This is Ric Flair in his prime. This is Ric Flair. You know, everything that he touches is gold. You know, it's amazing. Like, you know, what he says, how he says he's just amazing. He could say the same three things all interview and still be, you know, coming out on top. He's just anything he says, he can say anything. He can get away with anything because he's on top and he's in prime. He looks the part, you know, and he holds himself like a champion. Even the way he holds his championship belt, you know, just tucked under his arm. You know, he ain't got it over his shoulder and like trying to be hard with it and, you know, trying to show off. He's just got it. You know, this is my little pet. This is, you know, I'm the man. Yeah. You know, he ain't trying to flaunt it or make it look good. You know, he's just like
promo.
Yeah, amazing. I loved it. I love Flair.
Yeah, completely agree. The love for the man is real. Using all of the gimmicks, to be fair, the absolute fucking man. He woos away, and we move on to the United States Championship match, and just so happens to be one of Ric Flair's greatest rivals, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, in this one, as he takes on the champion, the United States champion, stunning Steve Austin. Now just listen to those two names, Mark. Steamboat and Austin in the same ring, in a match together.
You know, he's got a legacy. You know, he's already established. You know, Steve Austin's, you know, he's doing well for himself. Obviously, you know, they've put a belt on him. He's doing well. But looking, you know, in 2020 back, two of the most iconic, you know, wrestling personas is what a match. What an absolute match. And obviously this is obviously, you know, Attitude Era and Stone Cold, Slobber Knocker. You know, this is Austin doing some really good wrestling. You know what I mean? Before his knee kicked out and he broke his neck.
And his neck. Yeah.
And he had to hold back. This is Austin like doing wrestling. Do you know what I mean? And not just coming to kick people's heads in.
That's so true. So true. He has a bit of blonde hair left on his head. He's got a flashy jacket. He's got whitish boots and he's got black trunks. But on the back of the black trunks, he's got Dragon Slayer written on him. He's here to play and have some fun, isn't he?
Yeah, exactly.
Randy Anderson is the ref, and by God, other than Charles Robinson, who come in later on in life in WCW, Randy Anderson by far is my favourite ever WCW official.
How so?
He's just amazing. He jumps over people for a pin. He's just very animated. He sells the shit out of everything. He's like he's the equivalent to Earl Hebner in my mind. Like for that time, you've got head official Randy Anderson for WCW, head official Earl Hebner for WWF. Obviously, by the time 2001 rolled round, when WCW ended, Randy didn't want to obviously join WWF. He just didn't, clearly, because he didn't come over, and Nick Patrick took that role. Oh, mate, Randy Anderson, he's fucking great, and I'll argue that point all day long. But Tony tells us that we're having, you know, they have a bit of history in WCW. The Steamboat actually beat Austin for the TV title after an 18-month reign. So they've got this going into the United States Championship match, whenever that took place. Could have been a year ago. I really do not know at this point, but he puts it over. So we know they've had matches before in a championship situation. And it seems when I'm looking out to the audience that there's a lot of red chairs for this match. And that's a bit of disappointment for me, really, because this ain't a piss break match. This is one that you want to sit down and watch.
Yeah. Yeah. And like I say, we said earlier, the card is so strong. Whether that's us looking back in hindsight, you don't know what obviously the audience mentality is at that time. But you can't just go and miss a Ricky Steamboat. Even if Steve Austin at this point, just probably a bit like a Baron Corbin of today, maybe. If that's probably, I can't really think of a comparison. Good talent, but he's still getting a bit of a push, and he's still got a title and stuff. So maybe people ain't too interested in Baron Corbin, and they think, oh, okay, that's fine. I think if you was, looking back on that, if you was in the audience and looking back, when Austin really kicked off, you'd be like, oh shit, like I could have seen this match, and I just thought, oh fuck it, I'll go and get a sandwich or something. Do you know what I mean? So I don't know why people would have done that. This is not the match to do that, to be fair. But we are 4 matches in. People need a toilet and people need a drink.
True. There is that. There is that, and there is that element that they didn't put anything in between the last match, which had a strong rivalry, and this match really, and that would have been probably the placement to go and let them have a bit of a stretch of the legs, catch up, have a piss, all of those sort of things, and they just didn't. Instead, they went from strength to strength and went with Austin versus Steamboat for the US title. So this is the equivalent to the Intercontinental Championship in my mind. When you compare the two companies, so this is a big title for me.
Yeah, it's a second tier title, isn't it?
There you go, and you've got 2 big names going at it. So, one takeaway from me in this match, other than it being great, solid action, is Ricky the Dragon Steamboat just won't stay down.
Yeah, he definitely don't die in this match. Yeah,
no, you don't want to die either, does it?
And I mean that in a term, like obviously that's in like obviously a wrestling term. People think that I want Ricky the Dragon Steamboat to die. Obviously, if you're taking heat, the term is that you don't want to be be seen to be dying. You want to be, you still want to look strong. You still want to look as though you're in the match. So that is the term for that. I really want to explain myself, just in case people think, oh, he's not dying.
2 catchphrases from Tony Schiavone. One of them's a catchphrase. One of them's a bit of a statement about the show. So the first one, he says, is WCW, what the world is watching right now. Fair?
Yeah. Maybe. Who knows?
Maybe not. Another marketing
have they got the correct analytics to judge this? Who knows?
Probably not.
Let's just say everybody's watching it, yeah.
The other thing he does is he makes a bit of a schoolboy error here. It's a bit like Vince McMahon pointing out the Owen Hart kick to the Mabel kick last week. It's we've had a lot of action down them steps tonight because Ricky the Dragon Steamboat takes a tumble down them as well. And obviously we've seen them, like we just mentioned in the Terry Funk match and so on and so forth, that there has been a lot of action down them stairs.
Yeah.
Which you've only pointed out. Yeah. That's as bad as Mauro Ranello saying that's the 5th apron spot that we've had tonight. On the next pay-per-view.
Because maybe you've got 2 more matches left. Maybe they are going to do a step spot as well. Who knows?
Yeah.
So now you've pointed that out.
Hopefully they don't do one.
Away, it's going to take away any bit of meaning if anything else happens, in them 2 matches. But
now the crowd are quiet at one point during the match, and Ricky has got a hold on Austin. It's just an armbar of sorts, and he goes, "Break it!" He looks at the crowd again and he goes, "Break it!" I just can't help but picture a local social club of sorts with a baby face looking out into the crowd going, "Shall I? Shall I break it? Shall I?" And That's exactly what we get on a 1994 pay-per-view.
It was very reminiscent, very, very reminiscent. I thought exactly the same.
I had some memories come back to me, mate. I'll tell you that much.
Can I just say that when they had that hold on, like the way he had the hold on, it was absolutely perfect. It was just an armbar, but the way he positioned himself over his body, he had the armbar in. It was absolutely perfect. Like that's one thing that I have actually written down that stood out for me. It was just like that it looked perfect. You know, it was just an armbar, but it looked perfect. It stood out.
Great. It
just
was
keep
fantastic.
my mouth shut,
yeah. The crowd didn't need to react. You know, a lot of them had gone for a piss, whatever. You didn't need to look round and go break it, because spoiler alert, the people that you were looking at were the dignitaries, because there was about 2 rows of them. You know, Chris Lemon and, you know, George Foreman and whoever else was out there. George Foreman wasn't out there, but there was a guy called Hank. I don't know. Hank Garrison, I think it was, but a baseball player.
Yeah.
I don't know. Austin does a karate chop. He just goes like that after doing a move, and I absolutely lost my shit over it.
Yeah. Like it was just. I think it's just funny as well seeing Austin do stuff like that. Like that's not the heel Austin that I know. This is like a completely different person. And when people talk of the regeneration of Stone Cold Steve Austin or Steve Austin into Stone Cold Steve Austin, like unless you can see what was happening before and how he turned into that 96 King of the Ring, what it was afterwards, like this is what heel Austin used to do, and it was just fucking bizarre. It was just absolutely. It was crazy. It was crazy. I think the wrestlers are just popping themselves at this point. You know, I think they're just entertaining themselves. Like you say, Austin's probably picked up that there ain't many people in the audience, and he's probably just entertaining himself just to get himself through. You know.
We all know the story of Steve Austin being fired from WCW over fax. That doesn't take place too much longer after here. It's either late 94, early 95 before he starts doing some work for ECW and getting noticed in terms of his promos, and then the wheels start turning January 96 when he finally gets signed for WWF. So we're not a million miles away from where that is. So this would have been maybe one of his last matches in the company. I'm not saying it was, but he could have got injured sooner down the line, and then obviously the facts from Mr. Bischoff come through to say, "You're fired, pal. Thank you very much for your services. Good luck in your future endeavours." What a mistake that was.
Yeah, definitely.
But how would you have seen Steve Austin coping in the WCW with Hulk Hogan, Kevin Nash, and Scott Hall?
I think WCW probably missed a trick, like you say, because of what happened. Everything happens for a reason, doesn't it? You're in the right place at the right time. You know, obviously the stories that Triple H had, he took away from him. He was in that spot originally for the 96 King of the Ring. So, you know, if he hadn't have done the curtain call and the Madison Square Garden gimmick, he wouldn't have had it took away, and then Austin probably would have never happened. And, you know, ultimately, you know, Triple H did win the King of the Ring the next year. So everything happens for a reason. Everything falls into place. Austin in WCW, during the time of when the Monday Night Wars come into place, if he was still at the company, he would never have ever live up to the standards that he did in WWE ever. Because I think it was all about money, greed, politics. You know, the people that was in WCW during those eras, during that time, there was big names like Scott Norton. Scott Norton is a fucking, like, he was probably one of the biggest things in Japan, to say the least. And he was just a fucking, like, a part of this fucking, like, NWO that was on camera for a little, you know, little over a minute a night, maybe, you know, coming out to the ring. People like that, like Bryan Adams and, you know, even Savage, Macho Man Randy Savage, he had a bit, but they never used the people in the right way. They just wanted to have everybody so nobody else could have them. I think it was just a case of getting people, and that's why they went bust, because they was giving people contracts here, there, and everywhere. So I don't think Austin would have. It would have never have been. It would have never have been what we know now. Never. So I think he done the right thing.
I'd agree with that. I think he really would have struggled in the WCW environment to try and push through all the politics and the creative control bullshit that was about, what Hogan says pretty much goes. And, although there was a lot of good stuff, there was times that Hogan should have realised that actually someone else deserves his spot now. And it was a little too late in the year 2000, wasn't it? Funny enough, at Bash of the Beach, when they did the old shoot promo gimmick with Vince Russo, Jeff Jarrett for the World Heavyweight Championship. Funny enough, at Bash of the Beach, 6 years later. So what a wild ride we're in for wrestling. But yeah, what a pile of shit that was. So the psychology of the match, just to switch back, was towards the end, because they go 20 minutes here, 20 minutes and 6 seconds to be exact, so they get plenty of time. It's the longest match on the card so far, and halfway through the match, Austin has had enough, he's frustrated, and he tries to throw Ricky the Dragon Steamboat over the top rope to get disqualified multiple times, but Steamboat never lands on the floor. Yeah.
Crazy. So
crazy psychology.
I think what they're doing is obviously using using that stupid rule to their advantage, and obviously maybe fans are aware of this rule. There must be, if they're pointing into a match. Surely it's not just a commentator coming across and saying that to the TV.
Yeah.
They're obviously using it in the match as a physical to put it across on the audience. But they used the best they could with that rule. They used it well. Obviously Austin had enough. He couldn't keep him down, like you say. So obviously he's trying to get himself disqualified. Obviously disqualification ends in retaining the title. You lose the match, but you keep the title. That's obviously what he was trying to go for at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, shortly after this sort of back and forth of going over the top rope, we get that tombstone spot. They go back and forth in a tombstone position, and eventually the tombstone happens. What a spot.
Yeah. And I think I expected Austin to be, because I'm thinking again of the Austin that I know, not to be that athletic in terms of getting up and do, because that's quite a big, if you're leaning back, you've got to push yourself up as well to get up into that tombstone position. It was actually Austin was the one that was getting up dead quick. It was Steamboat that was the one that was more or less struggling to get up, and I'd expect it to be the other way around, to be fair.
Yeah.
So fair play to Austin for doing that. But yeah, it's what a spot.
Dead good spot, to be exact. But we get a cheap finish again. It's the feet on the ropes, and Austin gets the win. And he fucking storms it out of that arena. He doesn't even wait for his title. He is gone.
I thought that. Yeah. He's not even mocking the crowd. He's not walked around to the table, grabbed his title and walked off. Literally pin, bang, gone. He didn't even turn around, didn't acknowledge anybody. He was just like, oh, somebody's fucking shooting here a bit. He's unhappy with something here. Definitely.
You think?
So what happens is, obviously in that match, obviously he's got, Austin tries to pull him, the ref in front of Steamboat off the top to get a disqualification, and Austin saying, I tried to pull you, trying to get a DQ, and obviously Steamboat says, no, don't disqualify him, blah blah blah. And then obviously that leads up to the finish. But if you look, obviously Austin rolls him up, and then he goes for the pin, and he kicks out on two. Then he does a pin straight away again. I don't know what happened there. I don't know if that was part of the match.
Yeah.
I'm a bit on the fence with that. I don't know how that come about, because obviously the second time he done it straight after, he put his feet on the ropes. So did he forget to put his feet on the ropes, or was it used intentionally to be a second pin to show that he's kicked out of one and then I'm going to cheat to the second? I didn't know how to take that one, to be fair.
Yeah. Difficult one to read, to be sure. So without speaking to Steamboat or Austin and whoever booked the match for him, I suppose we'll always be on the fence and never know. Big Dave gives it 3 3/4 stars. I've gone with 3.5. I liked it a lot for a 20-minute match.
Yeah, I'll give it 3.
And I think it was, for me, probably the best match on the card.
Hmm.
Hogan and Flair was good. We'll get
Yeah.
to. But this definitely had a different feel to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
We then get the interview that we didn't get earlier, which is the Funk Bug interview with Mean Gene storming the castle of Funk Bunk, and he gets a bit from everybody in terms of a little bit of a promo from Bob Ace Funk, a little bit of a promo from Terry Funk. Colonel Parker gets in on the party, and then Arn Anderson takes over, but nothing off Meng whatsoever. But Meng then just absolutely ribs Arn Anderson, and he gets the champagne and the beer, and he pours it all over Arn Anderson's head mid-promo. I shit you not, Mark. I thought Arn Anderson was going to fucking lose his shit.
It looked that way. It definitely looked that way.
Like, Funk was enjoying it far too much.
Yeah, exactly.
To end the promo, Mean Gene says to the girls that are in the room, "Ladies, you should be ashamed of yourself." And then, in the next breath, he says, "Mind you, you are beautiful."
Fucking Mean Gene.
And I don't know if he knew I don't know if he knew it was still rolling, if the microphone was still on, and he was just he'd finished with what he needed to say as the babyface. "Ladies, you should be ashamed of yourself." And then he went, "Actually, you're a bit all right." Next match is far from beautiful. It's hard to talk about. I don't want to spend a lot of time on it, and it's probably a bit of a shame for you. I mean, you might have a completely different opinion. You might do, but we'll soon see. I know that you said you're a big Mick Foley fan. Yeah. Mick Foley is involved in this match. It's for the Tag Team Championship. We've got Cactus Jack and Kevin O'Sullivan, the champions. They're going to take on the team of Pretty Wonderful, which are Paul Orndorff and Paul Roma. Now, Paul Orndorff was a 2005 Hall of Fame inductee. Pretty Wonderful was a tag team from 1993 to 1995. So pretty established at this point as a tag team. Paul Roma used to be part of Power and Perfection in WWF, if you remember him. Kevin O'Sullivan, fuck me, he's one interesting character, right?
He's a fucking weird character, I'll tell you that. No wonder his fucking missus pinched off him.
Enough. I was reading a bit of reading on Kevin O'Sullivan, and I was just like, you know, he's a cult leader nowadays. He's just a weird dude. But when you talk about the Benoit situation, so Chris and Nancy, Nancy was working for WCW as woman. That was her gimmick. And there was a storyline written up, and funny enough, Kevin O'Sullivan probably writ it himself because he had the pen around that sort of time.
Yeah. And
he written that a woman would have an affair with Chris Benoit, and because it was still the era of kayfabe is real, brother, Kevin recommended that Nancy and Chris would share hotels, travel together. He's just begging for it, isn't he? You look at Benoit, especially back then, 1997, young, handsome, in shape, all of the potential in the world at that point in 97, versus Kevin O'Sullivan, who at this point in 1994 looks an absolute fucking state. So you can imagine a few years down the road how much worse he actually looks.
Yeah.
What was he thinking, Mark?
He fucking just booked his own fucking. He's booked his own failure in life, don't he? You know, through wrestling. Why would he? Why would you do that? Why would you do that? Absolutely crazy.
I don't know.
This just shows how sort of like how gone in the head he is. Obviously, it shows this is the start. This is obviously where it comes from. Absolute crazy. Definitely.
It just gets worse for Kevin O'Sullivan down the years for me. But we're in 1994. He's a tag team champion with Cactus Jack at the time. Mm-hmm. This match, it starts okay. with, I think it's Orndorff and O'Sullivan. It might be Orndorff and Jack. I'm not too sure. To do a bit of a little bit of a shine, and then for me, mate, this breaks down absolutely into a bag of shit.
Yeah,
I did not like this one at all.
No, so I am.
I need to know what you thought.
Yeah, obviously I am a big Mick Foley fan, and Cactus Jack's probably one of his best. Cactus Jack's one of his best gimmicks that he's had over the years. Very different and very more raw at this point than to what we know of what it was like, early 2000s, like 99. Very more like rugged and like. But I think they play on that as well. Obviously, you've got these beautiful people that they've put across these Orndorff and Roma. Them perfection, them tanned, them muscly, and that's what they play with basically throughout the match. And you got this fat scruffy dude, and they say I think they were saying that he smelt at one point, and I'm like, is that your heat? Is that what you're going with then? Is it? All right, okay. We've got nothing else. Okay. And it's a shame because Mick Foley's been in.
Go on, Mick Foley's been in.
Yeah, Mick Foley's. It's a shame because Mick Foley's obviously been in so many iconic matches for various different reasons. Yeah. But this was a bag of shit. I want it to be fair. I don't want to admit it, but it was. It wasn't great. You got to think Paul Orndorff was in the main event of WrestleMania 1 10 years prior to this. And the years have definitely caught up with him. He wasn't going to be around much longer. Paul Roma, he failed pretty miserably after Orndorff and him sort of split ways as well. The crowd gets so bored, they start Mexican waving. Yeah. It is a bag of shit. But obviously,
for some strange reason, they're given 20 minutes and 10 seconds, Mark. Why?
I don't know why. Maybe because it's a tag team match, and I thought, you can do something with this. They obviously thought highly of, Orndorff and Roma, but like I said, he's proper pasty. Looks like loads of steroids being used at this point, especially in this match. Just blown up. Nothing else to do but hit on. Just say that you stink and we're beautiful and just flex your muscles, and it was just all wrong. Yeah. It was crap. It was absolute crap.
It's not great at all. The finish again, he's cheap, and the heels go over again. Yeah. So we do get new tag team champions. Pretty wonderful. Take the belts when Cactus Jack is held down by Paul Roma, and Orndorff gets the cover for the 1, 2, 3. Nick Patrick is the referee once again. I think that's the third or fourth time I've said that. And yeah, probably is the best part of the match. In all fairness, there was one point where Cactus Jack gets Orndorff to the outside. It's near the steps. Orndorff's on the floor, so Cactus Jack goes up to the apron. We all know what he's going for. If we know Cactus Jack, he's going for the elbow.
Yeah.
Orndorff has fucking none of that. He stands straight back up, starts to sell, and Cactus Jack has to come and get him.
Yeah.
Just work with him. Work with him.
Yeah.
And he weren't into it.
No.
Roma made me laugh as well. He would have pulled this off really well if he got it right. But he bounced off one rope onto the other rope, and then he tried to bounce up to the top, but he fell. And then he got back up to the top, and he delivered a wonderfully executed elbow drop from the top rope. Not going to deny that at all. But then after he hit the elbow, he was like, wonderful, or something like that. No, Paul. It would have been wonderful if you didn't fuck it up.
Yeah, exactly.
Dave gave it half a star. You probably guessed it, but this is my 0-star match for the card.
I'll give it 1 star just because I love Mick Foley. That's about it.
Yeah, I thought you'd give it something because Mick Foley's involved.
That's the only
exactly
reason.
What you've done. Yeah. I'd agree.
I got to see Cactus Jack. That's why I get it 1 star.
Yeah, well, that's fair enough. I mean, I love Mick Foley. I love Cactus Jack to bits, but someone's got to get us a 0-star rating, and that's my gimmick. So, unfortunately, Mick Foley just happens to be in this match. Hopefully, never
this is
again.
where they should have. This is where they should have swapped the Steamboat Austin match and put this one as the 4th match. You know, just to break it down a bit. But in hindsight, they probably didn't know how shit it was going to be.
I mean, yeah, we're back with Tony and Brain, and as I've said throughout the show, they get a ton of time on the camera throughout the show, especially now when they're talking about Hogan and Flair again. Brain states that he's going to have a little bit of the bubbly. He doesn't quite put it like that, but he says a little glass of the bubbly. If only he missed out glass. So yeah, and then of course, what would a WCW main event be without Michael Buffer?
Yeah, that takes me straight back to like the prime of when I was watching it. You know, week in week, I'd tune in on I believe it was a Thursday night Nitro. That was my show. I didn't have Sky Sports one, so Raw got taped by my mate on Sky Sports. Then I borrowed the VHS off him on the Monday morning to watch my WWE fix. But because I had like the satellite package at the time, TeleWest before it was Virgin, you know, we had TNT, so you know I could watch the WCW. And Michael Buffer, he's known for boxing and you know the big pay-per-views, but for some reason WCW had Michael Buffer as a ring announcer for the main event.
And so be it. I'm dead happy with it. It was iconic for me. Michael Buffer being a part of so many of the WCW main events. So we know it's go time at this point. We know it's main event time because Buffer's in the ring. Gary Capetta was the ring announcer for the rest of the show. He was released later on in 1995 due to budget cuts, apparently.
Okay.
I wonder why that is. Maybe because they signed Savage and they started Nitro. And we're still going to pay Michael Buffer to turn up once a month. So, sorry, Gary, on your bike. Buffer brings out Bockwinkel. So, remember, as I said earlier, Nick Bockwinkel was mentioned earlier on in the show. He announces him as a 4-time World Heavyweight Champion, the Commissioner of World Championship Wrestling, Nick Bockwinkel, and the crowd are silent, dead. No reaction, no round of applause, absolutely nothing. And I'm just thinking, when I remember commissioners and I remember general managers and so on and so forth, they tend, even Jack Tunney, the president of the World Wrestling Federation, who never wrestled a match in his life as far as I'm aware, got a reaction. You knew who he was. You knew what he was there to do. Yeah. And he had something about him. But poor Nick Bockwinkel gets absolutely mugged off in Orlando, Florida.
Yeah. It's like the Walk of Shame.
Technical difficulties, I think. Literally.
Definitely. I think it's
Walk of Shame to the ring. And
Walk of Shame, yeah.
That's the best way of putting it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Best way of putting it. And then from there, Shaquille O'Neal, Big Shaq, is announced to the ring by Michael Buffer. And that reaction nearly matches Hulk Hogan's reaction.
Try and get more fan base, get more people watching, you know, WCW because of them, you know, NBA fans. That's the reason, obviously, for it. The Dennis Rodman, Karl Malone further on down the line, they did that gimmick as well. But yeah, you know, Big Shaq, you know, who's not going to pop for Big Shaq?
What happens then is Flair makes his entrance to the ring looking like an absolute fucking boss. He's got the purple robe on, he's got purple trunks, the championship's round his waist, he's got Sensation of Sherry with him. They put him over as an 11-time champion at this point. which I found really interesting. He was actually a 12-time world heavyweight champion at this point.
Okay.
They don't count or acknowledge his run in 1992 as the World Wrestling Federation champion.
Now, Stephen Regal will, mention Andre the Giant, which is like I say, associated with WWE. So maybe if they're not acknowledging Ric Flair's run, maybe Stephen Regal did get a bit more of a punishment after saying that.
a bit more of a body for it.
Yeah, thinking about it now. Yeah, definitely.
Okay, and then so Flair gets pyro. He's the champion. He's the man. And then Hulk Hogan's entrance happens. Hogan automatically gets double the amount of pyro that Ric Flair just had. Because Hulk Hogan. He has Jimmy Hart and Mr. T with him. The roof nearly blows off this arena. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, definitely. It's the anticipation. It's Hulk Hogan at this point, Hulkamania. I think he signed a month earlier and he'd done this big thing. I think he rode in on a red car and he'd done this big press conference. It was like they were signing an absolute superstar. Nothing like it is today, where people show up in the Royal Rumble, as a surprise entry or something. He was always marketed as like this big signing, and he was, to be fair. So give him double everything.
Yeah, absolutely. Well deserved. Hogan, he's then put over. This is another dig at WWF from the announcers, but they say that he's returning after a 3-year layoff from the business, missing out his 1993 comeback in WWF, where he obviously became the World Wrestling Federation champion at WrestleMania 9. As we all remember him doing double duty that night as he wrestled for the Tag Team Championships as well. And then, of course, he lost the title to Yokozuna at the King of the Ring 93 because, rumour has it, he would not lay down for Bret the Hitman Hart.
Politics, brother, politics.
Absolute politics. So, Buffer announces the match as signed off by the championship committee, like it's real. And then he says it will be supervised by Bockwinkel, which what I noticed here is then that Nick Bockwinkel and Shaquille O'Neal go and sit right next to Tony Schiavone and Bobby the Brain Heenan to sort of watch the match firsthand. The funny thing I noticed, which obviously plays a part in the end of the match, is Mr. T. He just fucks off. He just disappears. What was he doing? Where was he? No explanation. He just sort of disappears out of nowhere. Yeah. He's supposed to be in Hulk Hogan's corner. There was no mention of Jimmy Hart earlier in the night, but Jimmy Hart's just come out with him anyway. In
his full tuxedo with Hulk Hogan's print all over it.
Yeah, was an absolutely.
That's what a suit. What a suit.
He had so many great suits, didn't he?
Yeah.
So many. He was amazing. Jimmy Hart was fantastic, to be fair.
Yeah.
And even when he still turns up to this day, he's got that megaphone with him. And he's great. He's great.
Mayor for the South.
The Mayor for the South. And then we hear it, the famous, "Let's get ready to rumble." It's the best I can do. At short notice, without prepping my voice.
And I'm sure somebody later on in WWF imitated and mocked that during a DX introduction to the ring, maybe.
Let's get ready to suck it.
that's how much at war there was. There was just having a rib on everything that they was doing.
They absolutely fucking hated each other when you look back in it.
Yeah, definitely.
Great, fantastic. And so, we get the stare down after the bell rings, and Hogan and Flair are face to face. Now, before we start talking through some of the action in the match, I'll just first of all throw out that Sensational Sherry did sadly pass away on June 15th, 2007 at the age of 49. She is an absolute major part in this match. and most matches that she was ever valeting for. She was just great. But I want to talk about how WWF missed this opportunity. So it's 1992.
Yeah.
We're coming up to WrestleMania 8. We've got the real world champion as he turned up with the World Heavyweight Championship, the old WCW title, the one that he's wearing to the ring today. Then won the 1992 Royal Rumble to become the WWF champion. And then it's WrestleMania 8. And you've got Hogan and Flair in the same company, and WrestleMania's coming up. Why do you think it never happened? Why do you think it didn't get done?
I don't know. It's one of the things that'll always confuse me. Like I say, you put Hogan and Flair, and you can't really put them in the same. You can't really put them in the same category together, really, in terms of like runs or stories, or not the way you can put Austin and Rock or Triple H and all them guys. You can put them in the same sort of storyline. You can think of something that happened and the matches. Hogan and Flair never really. They didn't have anything. And they've done the team Hogan versus Team Flair recently with WWE at the it was in a Saudi Arabia, it was Australia show.
Crown Jewel, yeah.
The Crown Jewel.
Saudi Arabia.
And you'd think that this rivalry would have been like historic, but they never really had one. Why wouldn't you put these two people in? And Ric Flair is not just a world champion in a promotion. He was a legit world champion. Like with NWA, he actually travelled the world. He travelled the world and he went to different places to defend this title.
Flair's bumps are absolutely fantastic in this match. He's amazing.
Yeah.
He's just so good. One thing I noticed about Sherry in this match, she gets involved and Jimmy Hart's a bit pissed off. She does a little dance and she gives him a sharp fuck you, and I love it.
Yes. She's definitely a character. She's not somebody who'll just. She's not like a Miss Elizabeth who's just really like, I'm here to look pretty. She's part of the match, and she's like in the last episode I mentioned Ted DiBiase as a manager who's animated and gives that bit of she's there for a reason. She's there for a reason, and she makes herself known.
She delivers a big splash later on in the match before being abducted, is the best way I can put it, by the returning Mr. T, who just comes out of nowhere. He's got out the 18 van. He's gone, right, Face has given me a mission. Off he goes, Baracus, with his Snickers bar and everything. He grabs Sherry and he runs off with her backstage.
Yeah.
What? At this point, I'm thinking, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
You've got all the shenanigans of a main event.
Yes, definitely. It's
referee goes down, as we talked about.
Yeah. It's got, like I say, it's got everything. I think them building on this this Hulk Hogan's first time in the WCW. This is a world championship match, and they've got all the gimmicks in there, and they've got they've got, like I say, Mr. T coming back, abducting people, crowd interaction, Flair powdering away, proper heel. They've just got everything that you'd expect from a Flair Hogan match. It's definitely got.
Hogan sticks in the figure 4 at one point. As I said, the referee goes down and Nick Patrick takes over. And Hulk Hogan hulks up for me about 3 times in this match. And when he finally gets to the 3rd time, I'm thinking, surely to God, this has to be the last time he hulks up. And it turns out that it is the last time he hulks up. He finally delivers the big boot and the devastating atomic leg drop. The most over finisher in the history of the world. And we get it. We get what we came to see after 21 minutes and 54 seconds. We get a brand new WCW World Heavyweight Champion. Hulkamania lives forever, brother.
Definitely. And I think if So some of the bumps that Hulk Hogan was doing was absolutely fucking shite, absolutely shocking. I think before Sherry dropped the big splash, and she missed it. It took a bump off Flair after whipping the corner, and he just sort of like fucking stumbled over and. Oh God! Just you know what I mean. I could take it to a long match.
Drunk on a Friday night, like
yeah, like he's just
to the kebab shop.
Yeah, like he just fell off the curb and he just like fucking fell over. And then he comes and runs and gives Flair a lariat, and then he slaps Sherry around the face, and she fucking bumps outside the ring. Like, what the
he
fuck?
Completely missed her as well. Let's be honest.
He puts the figure four on him. He doesn't even do the figure four properly. He does it in a bodged up, like he just puts his leg inside. It was crazy. It was like
the last spin, does it?
No, the last 5 minutes of that match was absolutely crazy. And he pushes her off, and Mr. T takes her away, and all the shit's happening, and people are up and down, and he'd done what it needed to do. There was loads of shit going on, and Flair's like fucking, doing all the no.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Loving it.
I loved it
every time. And this is the thing. The one thing I noticed about Ric Flair, when you think of a heel and you think of spots into different movesets and so on and so forth, all that Flair does, he shot the shit out of him, for example. Right?
Yeah.
Hogan reacts to it. One time, I must mention it because it is legit. Flair chops him. Hogan looks at him straight in the face. Flair's like, no. Hogan backhands the shit out of Flair's face. And I'm thinking, fuck, shit's about to go down. Ric Flair's not standing for that.
No.
And credit to Ric Flair as well. One big spot when he holds him in a suplex for a stalling suplex for at least 10 seconds.
Yeah.
And Terry's no small child.
Yes. I think he got a bit bigger later on in the years. Some supplements maybe that he was using.
Maybe.
But at this point, he was definitely not small. He was definitely a bit more bulkier. During the later years. But at this point, he was still big. And just think of all the sweat as well. You know what I mean? When you're trying to hold on to somebody, and both these guys are sweating like they've just come out of the fucking shower. You know what I mean? So done good. Kid done good.
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, Big Dave gives it 3.25 stars. Where's your head at?
I'll give it 3.
Yeah, I went higher. I went 3.5 stars. I don't know why, but I did.
I think it's because of the anticipation and the payoff, and the reaction, what the crowd gives.
Yeah.
It does. But like I said, there was not much material to it. Hogan's got a block and a comeback, and just runs around, walks around the ring, and he's hulking up, and Flair's got a couple of chops and the figure 4, big body, takes a big backdrop to Flair bump off the top. There's not much but they don't need to as well. They don't need to do all this fancy shit. Obviously, put this. If you're trying to tell people who are trying to put a match together, why are you doing these big moves, these big spots? Stop complicating the shit out of it. Watch this Hogan and Flair match, and it just shows you that. Just be animated and just show your face, and the engagement with the crowd.
Believe in who you are and what you're trying to transmit.
Exactly. Some people want to come and see the big moves.
I don't get it.
And they want to come and see the big rah. But no doubt at some point during a show that you're on, there's going to be a match that has that. So you can't have everything really. You can't have the big move, the crowd reaction. And for me anyway, for this put across as it had everything it needed to be for a main event for 2 worldwide superstars, because they interacted with the crowd and the crowd was on board. The crowd was on on the train, that's taking them for a ride, ups, downs, and they showed it in just the body, in the face, in the body language. It was good.
I really did. It was really, really enjoyable to watch. we finally got Hogan versus Flair, the match of the century, as WCW put it as. I'm not sure that is quite the case
No.
when there were 6 years left and so on and so forth in this 10-year period, never mind the century.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? But it is what it is. I think, what baffles me more so than anything is what happens after the match. So the match is done. Hogan celebrates. We've got pyro. We've got smiley faces. We've got happy crowd. And I'm thinking, right then, it's just like an old WWF event.
Yeah.
Hogan sends them home happy. And then all of a sudden, Hogan starts walking up the backstage area and he leaves. And I'm like, okay. And then they pan the camera to Tony and the Brain again. And I'm like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
And it turns out that they've got 8 minutes to fill by the looks of it, because that's exactly how long this shitstorm goes for. So you've got Tony Schiavone trying to go through the action replay with Bobby the Brain Heenan, who doesn't want fucking none of it because obviously he's gutted that Flair's just lost.
I think he's more gutted that Hogan won rather than Flair lost. He fucking hates Hogan. Though.
There you go. He hates Hogan. They scramble Mean Gene to get Hogan to cut a promo pretty sharply, and Hogan rattles on about some shit for 4 minutes. I've got no idea what he talks about. I've got no idea what his point was. All I remember is that Brutus the Barber Beefcake was there. The Big Boss Man was there, also known as the Guardian Angel, which Hogan, fair play to Hogan, remembers what his character's called and goes, the Guardian Angel. and then Brian Pillman's there as well, just lurking. And I'm looking at Pillman, and Pillman's like a little kid in a candy store. He's like, that's Hogan with the championship, and I'm here on camera with Hogan. And I almost feel like Pillman was gonna want to go and say something on the microphone, but he never had the confidence to do so. If that was 96, 97, Pillman would have just took the mic and gone, look, listen here, prick. Listen here.
Exactly.
Me and you at full brawl, what you saying? Do you know what I mean? He'd just shoot it, wouldn't they?
Definitely.
But we never got that here. We just got 4 minutes of Hogan talking shit. We then go back and Bobby the Brain Heenan, he cuts a promo as well. One thing about the Hogan promo, he mentions different parts of the world, and he specifically calls out New York. I feel, straight off the bat, that's a shot at Vince again, because we all know WWF is referred to as going up north, New York, especially back then.
Definitely, yes. Obviously, WCW was more down south, wasn't he? In like the Georgia, the Florida areas, and obviously WWE is more for north, for like the Connecticut and New York. Yeah, the wrestling, but he's definitely a shot. Definitely a shot at Vince.
Yeah, Brian gives us a promo to say that Hogan's not heard the last of it and blah, blah, blah. And then he just gets his headset, throws it down and fucks off. He's had enough at this point, and I don't blame him. He's that prick in the background dressed as Hulk Hogan, fucking giving it large all night behind his ear.
Exactly.
I'm not surprised he fucked off. And then the one difference from a WWF pay-per-view to a WCW pay-per-view, more than anything, is Tony Schiavone presents the end credits.
You know what happened? I switched off at this point because I was fucking bored of it. I went off. I was on the same as Bobby. I was fucking gone. So what happened at the end?
End credits. We got to find out who the assistant director was, who the producers were. We got to find out everything, mate.
So you know what's happened, obviously.
Like the end of a TV show or a movie when you're at the cinemas and you get the end credit.
And you read them yourself, Brie was telling you.
That's what we had.
Fuck, Obviously, what's happened is they've said we obviously rented this time slot out off the network. We can't cut it early because they've got nothing else to show. We're on till such and such time, so you need to fill that space. So instead of being cut early, we've got fucking 8 to 10 minutes to make up. So I'll just fill it with some shit.
And just think that's with a 20-odd minute Cactus Jack, Kevin O'Sullivan, Paul Orndorff, and Paul Roma shitstorm.
Exactly.
And we were still 8 minutes. We were still 8 minutes out to what we needed. Where was the communication? Exactly. I just don't get it. But that
should have just left the Sissy Boys. Just left the Sissy Boys on the dark match. Bring the Road Dogg, the Armstrong brothers into the show, and make it a 7-match card, because obviously it could have held it. Just have more communication. Put 7 matches on, and then just tell the ref. Have communication with the ref, and just tell them when to go. Yeah,
we got 2 hours and 43 minutes according to the network times when I watched this back. So a lot longer than in your house event that we covered at the hour and 40 minutes. But that's what WCW were producing at the time. In your house was a very different model, as we spoke about last week. So most events that we cover are going to be around the 3-hour mark. But we'll try and cut that down as much as we can when talking through some of the matches. But it's been great watching Bash at the Beach 94. It's been great talking about Bash at the Beach 1994. You'll be pleased to know that everybody that voted King of the Ring 1998 was a very, very close second. It only lost out by 1 vote. So we've decided that we're going to do it, aren't we, Mark?
Yes, definitely. And this is, WWF 1998 is it's my year. So I'm very, very excited to have a look at that again, definitely.
I'm really looking forward to King of the Ring 98, as I was really looking forward to watching Bash at the Beach 94 for very, very different reasons. But we'll be back next week with another episode. Thank you very much for watching on YouTube or listening on SoundCloud and Spotify. I've been Rob Campbell.
I'll be Mark Holland.
And we have been the Hot Tag Review Team.